Week 14, day 3. We are developing the quality of tolerance. We are becoming more tolerant each day of people that are not our color, our religion, our socioeconomic background. We are developing the quality of tolerance. Helen Keller says the result of education is tolerance. Actually, the result of no education is intolerance. The key to intolerance, tolerance as self-respect determines your expectations. Remember we talked about that. Your self-respect will determine what you expect of yourself. You have high self-respect, you're going to have high expectations. Your intelligence determines your tolerance. The more ignorant you are, the less tolerant you are. Now look around you and see if I'm not telling you the truth. You find the most ignorant people, and they will be the most intolerant. You find the most intelligent people, and they will be the most tolerant. They will be willing to give everybody a chance, no matter what. Day 3, page 84. The Carlisle Indian Academy was founded in 1879 under the authority of the United States government. It was the first federally funded off-reservation Indian boarding school. The young Native Americans met with Captain Henry Pratt, who was in charge of the academy in the early 1900s, trying to convince him to allow them to start a football program. Now, get this, what this was. Carlisle Indian Academy it took the chief's sons and the highest members of the Indian tribes and took them to Pennsylvania and got rid of the Indian and made them white. That was the concept. They were going to Americanize the Indians, get the Indian out of them. You think that's prejudice? How stupid is that? Now these young Indians, they come to Pratt and they say, we want to start a football team. In the early 1900s, football was just beginning to be really popular, especially on the East Coast, in Pennsylvania and in that area. And Pratt told him, he said, okay, there are 2 conditions. And here's the 2 conditions. You can never retaliate. I don't care what happens, because the referees are going to cheat you, and people are going to call you names, and you're going to get the short end of the stick in every game you play in. And not once can you retaliate. Because the minute you do, everyone is going to say, hey, look at those savages. That's the way they are. So you can never retaliate. You've got to give me your word that you will never retaliate. Number 2, within 5 years, you've got to be willing to tell me that you're going to win the national championship. Within 5 years that we start this program, you're going to win the national championship in football. Well, to an Indian during this time, his culture, if you gave someone your word and you went back on it, then you were expected to actually kill yourself. So they went to their dorms and they thought about it, they discussed it, they came back and they said, and Pratt had told them that he would give them a great coach, first-class facilities, travel well, build a great schedule, do all the things that he could do to make them national champions. And they came back and they said, we will never retaliate. We understand that what the people are going to do, and we will never retaliate. Number 2, we will try to win a national. No! Pratt said, there's no such thing as try. Try denotes failure. Don't ever say you're going to try. If you're going to try, get out. You have to tell me that you're going to win the national championship. You cannot use the word try. It denotes failure. It was like a week or so ago when we were talking about this. I'm going to try to bench press 700 pounds. I'm going to go out there today and try to run the mile under 4 minutes. And like my granddaughter Ellie would say, Big Daddy, don't be so silly. You couldn't run a mile under 40 minutes. I can try. That's the easiest thing that somebody can say. I'm going to try my best. We're going to try to win the game Friday night. No, try denotes failure. That means you really do believe that you can fail. Pratt was not going to listen to the word try. He said, you've got to give me your word that you're going to win the national championship within 5 years. They went back, they came back, and they said, okay, we will win the national championship within 5 years. Pratt hired a guy named Pop Warner. Now, I can promise you, almost everybody out there has heard of Pop Warner. Pop Warner was one of those 300 greatest leaders that they talked about. He was one of the greatest football coaches in the history of American football. And Pratt hired him to coach the Carlisle Indian Academy. Some of the players that Pop Warner had, one of them was named Jim Thorpe, which you've probably heard of. They, within 5 years, now you can read the book about the Carlisle Indian Academy. It's The Real All-Americans is the name of the book. You really wouldn't believe. You would sit and just self-doubt the way they were treated. The referees cheated them. Schools cheated them. They did everything to these kids that could be done to prevent them from being successful. I mean, there was never a game that the other team didn't double the penalties. I mean, they'd break for a touchdown. Thorpe would break and run for a touchdown. They'd call it back called a holding. No holding. But they got punched. They got called names. They did everything. In their 5th year of their football program, they played the United States Military Academy with Dwight Eisenhower at linebacker for the national championship. See, they didn't try. They did. They were willing to be tolerant. And the one quality they had to develop, which was greater than probably anybody until Jackie Robinson in 1947, they were the most tolerant group of football players that probably ever lived. And now today, I had footballers, you're not going to disrespect me. Coach, he said so-and-so to me, so I punched him. You know, you've got to be tolerant. Some people are too stupid to fight. When they call names, what they're really trying to do is show you how ignorant they are, and what they really want you to do is come down to their level. When they use the racial names and they call you the names, they want you to get down there with them. Martin Luther King was the first one that really espoused this philosophy. We're going to be above that. And that was difficult for so many people to believe. He wasn't the first. The first was a guy named Jesus. When you get hit on one cheek, what do? You turn the other. That's tolerance. That's the nth degree of tolerance. That's what we have to develop. We have to develop tolerance. And intelligence and courage are two of the innate qualities you have to develop that. Be tolerant today. See you tomorrow.